Hello. So, yesterday on Facebook, I said that I was going to make a video where this time I was going to talk about suicide, suicidal thoughts, self-harm, and everything in between, like bullying. Um, so that would be this video. One of the first things I want to talk about is I made this video because last year and some previous times before last year, I was having suicidal thoughts, and the first couple times it really wasn't anything that I thought I should go to anyone for. I was about 11 or 12 the first suicidal thoughts that I had. I was having a hard time with family issues, with bullying. It was in middle school, and I was being bullied pretty bad. Just being called names, being talked behind my back. I had been called fat. I had been called stupid. Um, and I pretty much was about ready to give up. And so I started having suicidal thoughts. Um, the first time I had a suicidal thought, I was up in my room and I was upset over something. Right now, I don't remember what it was, but I saw a bottle of nail polish remover on my counter, and I took it, and all I remember thinking was, I could drink this right now, and I could end it all right now. And then I started thinking a little more deeper, and I thought that would be a really painful way to go. And then I started thinking, maybe it's not my time to go yet. I thought about, I had some exciting things coming up. And I was thinking about my family and how I didn't want to leave them yet, and how my family would be devastated if I were to do something to myself like that. So I didn't really do it. I put the nail polish remover back. And then a couple months later, again, I was about 11 or 12. I had this big bottle of allergy medicine because I had really bad hay fever. And they were little tiny pink pills, but they were really powerful. And if you were to take more than one or two at one time, it would start making you shaky and nervous, stuff like that. And I had another suicidal thought about overdosing on my pills and thinking again, I can end it right now. But again, just thinking about my family and thinking I didn't want my dad to go up to my room and find me up there dead. That would be horrible. I didn't do it, and I put my allergy pills back. And I was fine. Things got better with my family. I got into high school, and the bullying really subsided. I wasn't being called any names. I made some new friends. Um, Things were going pretty good. And then last year, the end of my junior year, I lost my grandpa Steve. And my grandpa Steve was like my best friend. I could tell him anything. I could talk to him. He was always there if I needed anything. If I needed to talk to someone, he was right there. He and I were very, very close since pretty much the day I was born. And I loved him really, really deeply. And he died last January. He had had a stroke, and he was in the hospital for 2 days. And then he passed away. I remember the last thing I ever said to him was, it was a Wednesday night, and I was talking to him. And the last thing I said to him was, I love you. And he said, I love you too. And he was talking to me about how he wanted me to lose weight, and he was going to talk to me about it, and how he had just quit smoking, and he wanted to help other people to quit smoking because it wasn't good for them. And all I could think in my head at the time was, oh no, he wants to talk to me about that again. That's so annoying. I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm going to have to figure out a way to get out of the talk that he's going to give me, because he's given me that same talk 1,000 times. And I thought it's just going to be another one of those weekends. But then that Thursday after school, my dad gave me money to go to a sandwich shop down the street. And I came back, and we were eating here at this very table where I'm filming this. And he told me, "Your grandpa's in the hospital." And I said, "What do you mean?" And he said, "Well, your grandpa's had another stroke, and your grandma found him on the floor, and they took him to the hospital, and he may or may not make it. We don't know yet." So I said, "Well, when can I see him?" And he said, "Well, you're going to your grandma's tomorrow after school, so I'm going to take you to the hospital, and then you're just going to go home with her." And I said, "Okay." And I stayed with my grandma Saturday and Friday and Saturday. And Sunday my dad came and got me, and we went to the hospital for the last time. And my dad's like, "Well, it's time to go." So I went over to my grandpa, who was in the hospital bed. I hugged him and I told him, "I love you, Grandpa, but I have to go home now." And we left, and we went to an ARC thrift store really quickly before we went home. And I was looking at the clothes, and my dad came up to me and he said, "I just got a call from your sister, and your grandpa passed away." And it didn't really sink in at first, and I was okay for the first 2 days. And then the third day, it really hit me that he was gone, and I felt really vulnerable. I felt like I was opened up. Everyone could see who I really was and what I was really like, and it scared me, and I became a mess, and I cried and I grieved for the next couple of days, and then I fell into this depression. And for anyone who's ever been in a depression, um, it's hard. And for anyone who hasn't been in a depression isn't just being sad. When you're in a depression and you really, really have depression, you don't even have the motivation to get up out of bed in the morning. You don't even want to talk to anybody or see anybody. You just want to stay in your room, but you know that you have a life outside that you have to live, and you have to force yourself to do that. So that's like having cinder blocks on your feet and still getting up in the morning to get ready. And it's really difficult having a depression. And in my case, and on a lot of other people's cases who've had depression, I didn't want to tell anyone. I told myself I was okay. I told myself I could be strong. I told myself I didn't need anybody. I didn't need anybody's help. I could do it. I grieved, I cried, and I'm okay now. And I told myself I'm gonna do this. I miss my grandpa, yes, but he's gone now and I have to live my life. And I was in denial about my depression, and I told myself I'm not depressed. I am not depressed. I am totally fine. And all the meanwhile, I was crying inside. I was dying inside. And I was that way through February, and didn't tell anybody, kept it inside, kept it hidden. I would go to school and I'd be smiling and happy. And then I would come home and I would go up into my room and I would cry. And I would think about my grandpa nonstop, and I would just think about how I missed him. And that's one of the biggest mistakes that I want to get out there to people that I made, is that if you're depressed and you have depression, don't be afraid to tell someone. Talk to anyone. There's always at least one person out there that you can talk to. I made that mistake of not telling anybody, and then that's in April when I became suicidal. And the way I would describe it is, before you go on a hike or before you leave your house, you normally tell someone where you're going. You would say, "I'm going to the store, I'm going to the school, I'm going to hang out with friends at the mall." Because if something should happen to you, they know where you are and they can help you. It's the same thing with depression and having suicidal thoughts. You need to tell someone if you're having suicidal thoughts or depression. That way, if you fall off the edge, they can catch you before you actually fall. And that was my problem. I didn't tell anybody. I kept it hidden inside. I didn't even tell any of my friends. They all thought I was fine. And inside my head, I was telling myself I was fine. And that's the other thing. When someone is in depression or they're suicidal, they're not in the right mind. They're not in the right state of mind, and they're not going to right out admit that they're depressed. But there are signs. If you know someone who you think is having suicidal thoughts or depression, there are signs, even the subtlest of signs. One of the signs that I had that no one picked up on was I started chewing my nails again. I stopped chewing my nails about 2 weeks before my grandpa died. After my grandpa died, I chewed my nails down all the way to where I didn't have any nails. They were bleeding and cracking. That was one of my signs. Another one of my signs is I'm a very friendly and outgoing person, and I like to talk to new people. After my grandpa died, when I was in my depression, I didn't want to be around anybody. I didn't want to talk to anybody. I came home straight after school and went up to my room. So if you notice somebody is acting out of their normal behavior, if you have a friend that's normally outgoing and friendly like me, and all of a sudden they cut themselves off from people and don't want to hang out anymore, that's a warning sign. If your friend has this bad habit like I do of chewing my nails and all of a sudden it gets worse, that's another sign. A lot of people think that people who have depression or are suicidal will cut their wrists. That's not true. Not everybody who is suicidal or has depression will cut their wrists. There are some people that do, but not everyone. So, February and March went by, and my suicidal thoughts and my anger at myself for having those final thoughts before he went into the hospital of, oh God, I'm gonna have to get over, this weekend of having him talk to me. I had these guilty thoughts that maybe he knew that I didn't want to talk to him. I started blaming myself. That's another thing. People will blame themselves when they're suicidal and depressed. They will blame themselves. And I started thinking maybe I was the cause of it. Maybe he somehow picked up on I didn't want to talk to him when I was talking to him. Maybe it was something in the tone of my voice. Maybe, I don't remember, but maybe it was something I said. And so February and March went by, and I put on this facade at school that I was fine. My friends thought I was fine. My parents, my family thought I was fine. And inside my head, I thought I was fine. I had brainwashed myself into thinking I was okay. And I was just digging my hole deeper and deeper and deeper. And finally, one night in April, I had reached the bottom of my hole. One night in April, I was home alone. My dad had to go to work, and I was home alone. And that's the other thing. If someone is suicidal or in depression, don't leave them alone. When they try to push you away, don't leave. Always be right there. Because I was home alone that night, and something serious could have happened to me. So you don't want to leave anyone who is suicidal or depressed alone, no matter what. Always make sure they have a way to contact you if they need it, and let them know that you are there. But I was home alone that night, and I was in the bathtub trying to calm myself down, and it didn't work because I had an emotional breakdown. And I just couldn't take it anymore. I couldn't take that I was hurting so badly on the inside, and I couldn't take not having my grandpa, not seeing his face, not hearing his voice, not being able to see him every weekend and hug him, not being able to talk to him on the phone. I couldn't take not having him anymore. And I was in the bathtub, and I was just screaming my lungs out about how I missed him and I just wanted to be with him again. And I came to this decision as I was sitting there that I was going to kill myself. And I was going to kill myself by drowning myself in the bathtub. I was going to lay back, I was going to let the water go over my face, and I was going to kill myself in the bathtub. And I was ready to do it, and I told my grandpa, I love you, and I can't wait to see you. And I was getting ready to lay back. And this is where a couple different things happened, and you're not really going to believe me when I say it happened, but it happened. As I was getting ready to lay back, I had my radio on, but it was soft and I couldn't really hear it, but I was getting ready to lay back, and a song played. And I'm not going to name the song, but it was a very important song to me. And I was getting ready to lay back, and I heard the song, and I stopped for a minute. And the song brought back a couple memories of being with my grandpa. And then it got me thinking, you need to tell someone. Inside my head, I came to the realization I needed to tell someone how depressed I was. I needed to tell someone how sad I was. Because at that time, nobody knew. Nobody knew. They might have known I was sad. They knew my grandpa just died, but they didn't know how deep I was into my depression. They didn't know I was suicidal. They didn't know that I was chewing my nails because I liked the pain. They didn't know any of that. So that's when I came to the realization I need to tell someone. So it also got me thinking too. I have a baby sister. Today she turned 2 years old, but she was a year old when this happened. And it also got me to thinking, I can't leave her alone. She needs her big sister here. She's only a year old, and I don't want her growing up asking what happened to her big sister. Why isn't her big sister here? And I thought, my family would still be really affected. Whether or not they show it, there are still members of my family that would be devastated. I have my niece Courtney and my nephew Landon that if I had killed myself, they would have been devastated. They would have been really sad to know that their Aunt Kelly didn't want to live anymore. And so I stopped right then, and something told me tell someone. So I got my phone. I got out of the bathtub and I got my phone. And I texted my good friend. And I texted him and I said, Matt. His name is Matt. And I texted him and I said, Matt, I think I'm about to do something that I'm going to regret. And he said, what's that? And I said, I think I'm about to kill myself. And all he did was text me back, don't do it. And I texted him back that I missed my grandpa and that I was just really, really depressed. And he just told me about his grandpa. And he calmed me down. He talked me through it. And I was able to calm down enough to go to bed and go to sleep. And the next day at school, I was totally drained. But I remember walking to school and just seeing the sunlight as it was coming up as I was walking to school. There was a beautiful blue sky. It was chilly, but it was a beautiful day. And I just kept thinking, I'm alive. I was going to end it last night, and I'm alive. And after all of this happened, I had this new appreciation for life. Walking to school in the morning, I'd look at the trees, I would look at the grass, I would hug my baby sister tighter, I would tell my family members that I loved them more. And the reason why I made this video was because I wanted to tell my story. I wanted to get my story out there so that someone out there who's like me, who is suicidal and depressed and is hurting really badly on the inside, will see this video and it'll open them up so they can tell someone what they're going through. They can tell someone. The person who you're talking to, if you're the one who's depressed or suicidal and you need to talk to someone, the person you're talking to may not know what you're going through, but they've been through something a little similar, and at least they'll be able to help you. And for people out there who are suicidal and depressed, you may think no one cares, no one loves you. If you were to die, no one would care. Your family members hate you. You don't have any friends. Your boyfriend, your girlfriend just dumped you. Whatever. There's one person out there. I guarantee you, if you go back and you think hard enough, there's one person in this world, at least one person in this world, that would care enough if you killed yourself that they would want to kill themselves. I guarantee you there's one person in the world that cares enough about you that will kill themselves if you kill yourself. With me, I lost my grandpa and I wanted to be with him, but I had to come to the realization that he was just a man. He was my grandpa. I loved him dearly. He did a lot of good things for me, but he was just a man. And I also had to remember that he was my grandpa and he loved me a lot, and he wouldn't have wanted me to hurt myself. He wouldn't have wanted me to kill myself. I thought back to when I was a little girl and I'd fall down and scrape my knees, and he would tell me, "Don't hurt my baby. You hurt my baby. Don't do that." He would tell me to be more careful. And in my head, at that moment where I was about to lay back, and I didn't, I heard him say, "Don't hurt my baby." And with this video, I want to help at least one person. If I can at least help one person telling my story, then that would make me feel good. And I put a status on Facebook saying I was going to make this video, and I asked if anybody had any questions. And I got one request from one of my friends. She wanted to know about self-harm. She wanted to know about alternatives to self-harm. That was one of the things that she had asked me. Alternatives to self-harm, I only know of one that I've kind of heard. There are other videos on YouTube about it, but it's called the Kool-Aid thing, if I can find my Kool-Aid packet. It's called the Kool-Aid approach to it. And so what you do is you get a packet of Kool-Aid. Where did I put it? I don't know where I put it, but you take the packet of Kool-Aid and you want to make it red, because most cutters will cut themselves because they like to see the blood. The blood is their satisfaction. That lets them know that they're alive, and it gives them this rush that they're still alive. And so what you do is you take the Kool-Aid and you take the powder. Don't get it wet yet or anything. You take the powder and you put it on your wrist, and then you get an ice cube. And you go over the powder with the ice cube, and it'll show up red, and it will look like blood. And apparently you're supposed to keep going over that with the ice until that urge to cut yourself, that urge to see blood, subsides, because it will look like blood is dripping, but it's actually Kool-Aid. And you just do that until the urge subsides. That's the alternative to cutting that I've heard. Not all self-harm is cutting. For me, the self-harm that I went through was biting my nails. And I've tried everything to quit chewing my nails. I've tried the nasty tasting nail polish, and I bit right through it. I've tried painting my nails and making them look nice, and it's worked for about 2 weeks, and then I chewed through it again. I'm still struggling with it. So I'm not quite sure what to say about if you chew your nails as self-harm, because I don't know many people who do that. I know it's a nervous thing where you do it if you have anxiety, like I do. There's, just to be aware, there is other forms of self-harm. Like, some people for self-harm, they will actually hit themselves and cause themselves bruises. They will punch themselves and hit themselves. Some people will burn themselves. They'll put cigarettes out on themselves. They'll use lighters and burn themselves. And I'm sure there's other ways of self-harm, none of which are good and none of which I would recommend. To anyone out there who self-harms, I'm going to tell you right now, you're better than that. And just because I'm struggling with mine, I'm still trying to get over mine. I know whoever out there who's watching this and self-harms, you can get over it. I know a lot of people who've self-harmed for years, and they have gotten over it. And how would you quit self-harming? That was another question I got. How do you stop self-harming yourself? What I would do is, I like quotes, so I would go and I would find an inspirational quote. One of my favorite quotes is, "Being yourself in a world that is constantly trying to make you something else is the greatest accomplishment." I love that one. But just every day, find a new quote you really like and print it out and put it in your bedroom, or just keep reminding yourself that you're stronger than that, and that you're better than that, and if you do self-harm, or you self-harmed in the past and you have like the scars on your wrist, that's nothing to be ashamed about. Don't be ashamed about that. Those are like your battle scars. You fought through that, and in the end you won. And if you're still self-harming, you can still win this. The battle is still going on, and you're strong enough to get through this. I'm still getting through mine. I'm still working on stopping chewing my nails. I've had several people who say, "If you stop chewing your nails, I'll take you for a manicure." So I'm still working through mine, and someday I'll be strong enough to get over mine. I'm still working on it today. Um, and so, um, this video goes out to anyone who's ever had suicidal thoughts, who's ever been depressed, who's ever done self-harm. As far as bullying, I did go through some bullying at the same time my grandpa died. At the same time my grandpa died, someone made a fake profile under my name on Facebook and started posting really mean things. They pretended to be me, and they took my name, they took my information, and then they started posting things on this Facebook like fags should burn in hell. They called this person that I go to school with a fag. They started messaging and threatening my friends. They messaged one of my friends and threatened to slit her throat. They told one of my friends he should watch his back. All this other stuff. And that just made me sink farther and farther. Eventually the page was taken down, but that just pushed me farther and farther. And so, again, I just want to say that if you are facing depression or self-harm right now, if you are in a depression and you are suicidal, tell someone. Tell someone where you're going, because eventually you're going to need help. You're going to fall off that cliff and you're going to need someone to throw you a rope. And if no one knows you're on the edge of that cliff, no one's going to throw you a rope. So, tell someone. And the only reason I'm here today was because I fell off that cliff and I was holding on the side of that cliff, and there was nobody, and I had to pull myself back up. But luckily one of my friends was there to give me a hand and pull me back up. And so my real message about this is just tell someone. That's the biggest thing. Tell someone. Don't be ashamed. Don't be in denial like I was and say, "Oh, I'm fine. I don't need anybody." Don't be that person that is grumpy and angry about it and says, "I don't need anyone's help. No one cares about me anyway. I hate everything. I hate everybody." Don't be that person. I knew a lot of people like that, and it did not help them. I knew people who were like that actually did kill themselves and succeeded. You don't want to be that person. Don't be that person. Be stronger than that. It took me the hard way to learn that lesson. And I just want to put it out there that if anybody needs anyone to talk to, I am always here. You can find me on Facebook. I'll have that link down there. You can Kik message me at PrettyPoetic19. I'll have that down there. You can email me. I'll leave my email down there. If you need anyone to talk to, I'm always here. No matter who you are, no matter what you're going through, email me, Facebook me, Kik message me. Just find someone to talk to, even if that's me, and I will help you. But there's the other thing where I had a girl on Kik message me about how she was suicidal and she wanted to kill herself. And I told her the same thing I'm saying now. I was telling her to tell someone. I was telling her she was stronger than that. She was better than that. She could make it through, that I was always there. But she wouldn't listen to me. And she was saying that she just didn't think she was strong enough. She just wanted to kill herself. And I had struggled with her for a week, back and forth messaging. And she wouldn't listen to me. And at the end of that week, I just told her that I told her, I just told her you're stronger than that and you don't have to resort to that. And I told her everything I've been through, and she wouldn't listen. And at the end of the week, I told her, you're stronger than this. You can beat this. I know you can do it. And she said, well, I'll message you tomorrow if I make it through the night, if I don't kill myself. And I got really upset over that. And I had to delete the app, and I haven't heard from her since. And so I don't know where she is today. I don't know if she's alive. But that's the other thing. If someone offers to help you through that, I can understand why you'd want to push them away. But if you really want to live, That's up to you. No one can make you want to live. You have to make that decision for yourself. Other people can't live for you. Other people can't force you to live. That has to be your decision. You have to decide, am I so sad and depressed right now that I want to kill myself, that you don't want to be here anymore? Or do I want to be that person that wants to live another day, that wants to try to make life better, that wants to live for that one person like I wanted to live for my baby sister and my niece and my nephew? That I want to live to see another day, that I still want to be here. Because I still think about how I might not have been here today. Like tomorrow night, I get to go with my best friend to see my favorite band. I get to meet them and interview them for my senior project. If I had killed myself last year, I wouldn't be going right now. If I had killed myself, I wouldn't have been able to go to the Bad Blood tour last year and meet them and Blood on the Dance Floor. I wouldn't have gotten to see all these exciting things if I had killed myself. And I know you hear a lot of people saying it, but just because life is bad today, just because something bad happens to you today, doesn't mean it's going to be that way forever. And I understand how when someone's depressed, you don't want to tell them, it's okay, it'll get better. But I guess I'm kind of saying that just in a different way. I mean, I can't make you want to live. You may watch this video and be depressed and sad and still say, I want to kill myself after this video. Again, I can't make that decision for you. I can't make you want to live. All I can do is tell you what I've been through and tell you it's not worth it. And doing that would just be learning the hard way. And I just want to tell people that eventually it may not be okay right now, but eventually it will be. Something will come along in the future that you'll be excited for, that will make you happy. And I just want people to know that life is worth living. Life is beautiful. Life is exciting. Yes, life can be horrible, life can be terrible, but in the end, at the end of the day, before you go to bed, life can be truly amazing.